All right.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Welcome to today's Public Safety and Emergency Services Committee meeting for October 20th, 2022. Please note the meeting is being transmitted live via video stream. The public can find a link to this video stream by visiting the Orange County website, www.orangecounty.gov.com, clicking on the tab for the legislature and locating the Public Safety and Emergency Services meeting on the calendar. Please silence your cell phones, tablets, and other electronic devices. And please join me in a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, thank you. We'll have roll call.
DeGanga. Here. Ellers.
Here.
Fagion.
Here.
Sierra. Sassy.
Here.
Ramos. Here. Hine.
Here.
One absent.
Okay, thank you. First up, we have the Director of Probation, Mr. Davidian. And letter A, request to accept supplemental appropriation to accept funds from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, which represents reimbursement of funds by probation for raise the age legislation for the period of 4/1/21 through 3/31/22, $522,203. Have a motion, please.
Second.
Sassy, Mr. Ganga, highlight that for us, please.
Sure. This is our this is the award for raise the age money. Up to this point, the state of New York has always been at least a year behind, if not more so. The award is in excess of $500,000, but it's subject to reimbursement. So we will have 2 probation officers, 1 half supervisor, and some programmatic milestones that we met reimbursed. We're probably looking, honestly, at receiving somewhere between $250,000 and $275,000 out of that $500,000 grant. And part of the reason for that is there are some programmatic pieces that are in there that would be a double dip. We have a Strengthening Families program, which is already funded out of another grant, but as of this contract, that has, again, $130,000 under this award, so we can't claim both places. So again, I expect that we receive between $250,000 and $275,000 when reimbursement is completed.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried, unanimous. And we'll move on to the budget review, and you will find that on pages 55 through 67. Director, you want to highlight some issues for us before we go into questions? If there's anything you want to point out?
I think some of the highlights, again, will come back to raise the age. In the 2023 budget, we are actually budgeting that raise the age money, the anticipated award. We did take out that aforementioned $130,000 out of the application, so the initial award will start around $400,000. And we will also be funding a probation assistant position out of that. The committee had approved that a number of months ago. So again, I would expect that out of that $400,000, we'd probably be in a situation in the scenario reimbursement, probably about $310,000 to $320,000, maybe a little bit more than that. One thing that I am very thankful for that's contained in our budget this year is after consultation with Finance and Budget and the County Executive's Office, we have set aside a pool of money, $250,000 for crime victims. And the goal of that money, we'll still have to work out a lot of the specifics, is a lot of times crime victims are awarded restitution, but it takes them a very long time to get restitution. In the course of my career, I've seen many occasions where, a bunch of mailboxes might get damaged. So you have, this person's owed $100, this person's owed $200. But when restitution orders are prepared and executed by the courts, because they're also taking into account the offender's ability to pay, some of those people might not see that $200 for 4, 5, 6 years later. So the goal of this money is for individual victims of crime to pay them in advance of the department actually collecting the restitution from the defendants. I think it's very beneficial for victims to be able to move past their crime and move forward. So I'm very excited that we'll hopefully be able to move them along. We have some questions pending in law, but I'm very confident that that'll be a great benefit to the victims in the county.
So is that a one-shot deal? You reimburse yourself as the money comes in, or we're going to have to see that every year?
That's our goal, that we can kind of revolve that. But I'm not exactly sure how that'll that'll funnel out. Because again, if we're laying out the money and the offender is still under their court order, has the ability to pay it out over a couple of years, I'm not exactly sure how the specifics of that'll work out. I'm hoping we'll be able to just keep revolving at 250.
You don't need additional staff to do that, to manage?
No, actually, with our new financial software and the two ladies that we have in our financial unit, we'll be able to handle that internally.
How about staffing in general? Are you fully staffed right now?
We are not fully staffed, but I believe we are at a very comfortable staffing level. We have 10 teams of individuals providing medium and high-risk supervision. We have other officers providing lower-level supervision. We are very balanced as far as our family services unit and with our people that do our warrants. So we do have, I think it's one probation officer hiring request and one crime victim counselor, which is completely grant funded, that are pending, reviewed by the county executive's office, but I feel very comfortable with our staffing level right now.
How about the cameras? Anything you need to highlight on that?
Cameras should be rolling out within a couple of weeks. All staff have been trained with the exception of one individual who's on a leave of absence. And we are just finalizing the actual policy of that with Human Resources and Union right now.
Anybody have any questions for the Department of Probation? Chairwoman Benelli.
Thank you. Page 62, you referred to those money for 250. Is that the specialty payments? And 57682. Okay. I'm getting a nod. Thank you very much. You don't even have to worry about it. Deb.
Okay.
Okay.
Deb's got it covered for you. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we'll call a question on the probation budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion for that. I'm sorry, I didn't take a motion. I'm waiting to get yelled at. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to the district attorney's office. 2A, request to create 5 assistant district attorney grade 20.
There's a capital.
Oh, I'm sorry. False line. It's not in my note over here. I got a yellow piece of paper that doesn't have anything about probation on it.
I didn't.
Carrie Ann, I take no blame for that. Okay, 120, body cam and equipment. Is that a done deal already, or we're gonna have to keep funding that, I assume?
Correct. The overall expenditures in the neighborhood of about $800,000 over 5 years. There was a initial outlay last year, and this is the ongoing for the next 4 years. So the total is a 5-year contract.
Got it. I know the legislature fully supported that in the past, and I guess we'll continue to do so. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the capital plan for the probation department?
Aye.
And the motion was made by Mr. Sassy and Mr. Fagione. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried unanimously. Thank you again.
Too much fire.
Now we go back to the district attorney, and I'll start reading again. Request to create 5 assistant district attorney grade 24 positions, 1 systems integration manager grade 23, 2 criminal investigator, and 6 typist 2 part-time. Grade 5 positions to be created. These positions will be grant funded through the Criminal Justice Discovery and Reform Grant. All positions will be created with the stipulation that the positions will automatically be abolished upon cancellation and funding. I have a motion, please. Satsky and Stiganga. Highlight that for us, please.
Sure. This is year 2 of the state's ongoing discovery grant funding that they put together. Last year, we received a little over $1 million. We used last year's money to put in RMS, record management system. That grant, I pretty much transferred all of it over to Mr. Casey's department so that all the police departments are on the same record management system in the county. And obviously, as you know, we have over 30 different agencies, municipal agencies. This year, we got about $1.7 million that was granted to us by the state. We're using it for personnel, primarily to catch up now on what the workload is for the ADAs. You mentioned what we have, the 5 ADAs, 2 investigators, 6 part-time clerks, and IT specialist. There's actually 2 IT specialists. One is going to go to Tim Davidian's department under probation. They have to take care of that, and one will come to us. So all in all, it's a win-win. It's something that we've needed with discovery reform, and it's overdue. It's overdue. The workload created by discovery reform is just crushing.
Are you gonna be able to staff those positions? I know you've had trouble hiring.
We've had trouble hiring, but the county, to county executives and his, Mr. Poor, we've been able to retain some people and match some offers that they've received everywhere. One of the biggest problems we have for ADAs now is that you do not no longer have to live in Orange County. You can live in any of the adjoining counties. And what it does, it creates kind of a free-for-all when it comes to talent. When you have very, very good talent, another DA's office a few weeks ago offered someone a $22,000 raise. So the game is on when it comes to quality talent for attorneys. Either you match the money or you lose the talent, and that's pretty much the way it's happening. So, and I think we'll be able to, with this grant, to fund at a level high enough to get people in. I think the positions that we're talking about funding start at 90. So a lot better than the normal starting salary of 67.
Any questions on this issue? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried, unanimous. Now we'll move on to the budget review, which you'll find on page 42 through 54. I need a motion for that, please. Do you want to do your budget presentation first?
I'll just give it to you in 2 minutes.
All right.
If you flip through
I'll
what we
take that
have,
deal.
here, look, the challenges on page 1, recruitment and retention of qualified attorneys, the practical consequences of those challenges, our criminal justice reform. The responsibilities the ADAs have increased have increased tremendously. What we used to do on 5% of the cases, we do on 100% now. The morale of police in general has suffered tremendously in Orange County, and it has clearly affected public safety in every aspect. Criminal justice reform, going to page 2, has really caused us to embrace technology, but technology costs money, technology takes time to train, and lots of things go wrong with technology. Specifically, when it comes to capturing and acquiring all the information related to a case, the body cams is just an enormous amount of information, terabyte upon terabyte, and that information has to be kept for up to 25 years in those cases. And last year, just to put it in perspective, we had over 3,000 hours of body cam video. All of that has to be kept for 25 years, including all the paperwork related to cases, et cetera, et cetera. It has to be accessible and retrievable, which is a mammoth undertaking. And the real problem with all it is, an ADA has to look at all of that. When every case comes in, somebody has to watch it and make sure it all gets turned over.
That's on misdemeanors too, the
Yes.
story?
Yes,
Dave, also you and I had a conversation. If there are 6 officers on the scene, you have 6 cameras, correct?
correct. All 6 have to be turned
Right.
over. Somebody has to look
Stored
at
the whole thing, all of it.
all 6 have to be looked at.
It's amazing.
It is mind-boggling what they have done to us. And again, the reliance, the cost, and the training related to that, you've heard me say before, the county, our IT structure, I know we do the best that we can, but extremely difficult when everything is contracted out, et cetera. The third page, time, it just talks about a little bit, every ADA has a laptop. The thing here to remember is litigation this year is up 1,000%. Trials, we're 2 to 3 trials almost every month going on. Mr. Bork this year's done 2 murder cases.
Two murder case trials, and there were 3 others that pled unexpectedly before trial.
Yeah, so he had 5 lined up for this year, just this year. And again, backlog related to COVID still exists, and we're working it. Our primary focus in the office is violent crime. 65% of our resources for violent crime is directed to the city of Newburgh. I have a full-time investigator assigned there. That the majority of the office overtime goes to him. There's also an ABA assigned there. We help them the best we can, even though most of the time we're kind of confused what they want to do. Gun-related crime, we just learned at the state symposium, we have the highest conviction rate in the state of New York. We still do a lot of selected narcotics cases, big case in Port Jervis, quality of life crimes, extreme risk orders, which took effect this past summer. It's just a time draw. A lot of time. Just yesterday, they had one in town of Newburgh. Took the police 4.5 hours and the DA's office 6 hours to basically make sure that a 17-year-old who was looking up Osama bin Laden and Columbine got health care, got mentally evaluated, his house got searched, et cetera. So a lot of time goes to that. The next page is just our standard mantra. You see the billboard around Orange County, you carry a gun illegally without a permit, you're going to jail, unless you got a really good excuse. The last thing, some fast facts, just about our caseload, some stuff, 167 shots fired calls in the city of Newburgh. That was up to September 30th. The 76 gun cases is year to date. The 23 possession of a firearm cases are year to date. The difference between the two is one's loaded and one is not. The possession weapon 2 is loaded, the other gun is not. Our conviction rate, as I said, is the highest in the state. Raise the age. Other than I can say it's a crippling disaster particularly for the city of Newburgh, Middletown, and Port Jervis. It is what it is. It costs a lot of money, and it doesn't seem that it seems to just fuel crime in every aspect. It seems that every narcotics ring or whatever employ young kids because they know that they're not going to be punished. And then the last thing is the state grant we just talked about. And the future is just about recruitment, retention of qualified employees, increased morale for law enforcement, and crime solving for certain jurisdictions, particularly the city of Newburgh. Even though it's not really our prerogative to solve crime in the DA's office, we do give them the resources to try to enhance that. Other than that, I'll take any questions you have on the budget or anything in general.
So you have a crime analyst position, correct?
Yes.
Is that position able to work at, and I guess I'll reference the shooting at the city of Newburgh School. Is that someone that could like mine for things like that, for if there's any chatter on things like that?
They can. That position has the ability to do that, has the position to resource social media, sonar, and other things, yes.
And they work in conjunction. In other words, Commissioner Casey's going to hire a crime analyst as well as his department to focus on schools. Is that a shared resource where you can go back and forth on things like that?
It's shared, but I think he has a need. I think he has a need. I think we have a need. I mean, in a perfect world, it would pay a lot more than it pays on paper here. But yes, I think there's a need that we have a need in my office for it. He has a need across the board. But he can address that.
So that's been working well for you, having a crime analyst down?
Yeah.
Anybody have questions on the budget? I know Mr. Fagioni had a question.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, DA Hoover. Just a couple of things. First of all, this handout is very informative, and I appreciate that. And on the page where you talk about our focus, I see you talk about violent crime and gun-related crimes. Just for the record here, 91% of your budget comes from Orange County taxpayers, according to our budget book, 91%. And it says here 65% of your resources are directed at the city of Newburgh. Can you elaborate a little bit more about violence in Newburgh, especially focusing on the gun violence that's taking place? I mean, that shooting that we heard about at the school, one of our colleagues was at that football game. His son was on the football team. And I mean, not only is that alarming, but it's petrifyingly scary. So could you elaborate a little bit more about the gun violence, and especially in Newburgh?
In all society, 1% of the people create 99% of the problems. And that's the case in Newburgh. It's about 1% of the community that doesn't want to comply with the standards and norms that the rest of us do. We do put a lot of resources to Newburgh, a tremendous amount. Their police department is understaffed. It's very, very young. It relies on a lot of support from New Windsor and from the town of Newburgh and from the state police and in the investigative side from my office. They can't keep a lot of officers because of the low pay, and their institutional knowledge is leaving. So it is a huge problem for them. I can't speak to how they're going to try to solve it. We had a grant where we worked with them, the GIVE program. We had the highest solve rate in the state of New York for bullet to body shootings, about 42%. The project director left and Newburgh wanted to go a different direction. They didn't like the fact that the DA's office controlled it. I'll be honest, we controlled it because we had metrics in place that if, either you're going to solve crime or you're not going to solve crime. And we ran the program where our goal was if somebody got shot, whether they want to cooperate or they don't want to cooperate, we're going to find out who did the shooting and we're going to try to bring the person to justice. They wanted to go a different way with it, and that's fine. But obviously, you're not going to solve 40% of the cases when that's the way you want to go. And you're not going to solve a lot of the cases when you have so many institutional problems with the officers leaving, with the older officers retiring, and with the low pay. They're just not recruiting the level of talent that they need. But we do everything we can to support them here from the DA's office in the county. And like I said, I have an investigator that's fully assigned to them that about 2/3 of my overtime budget goes directly to his job in Newburgh. And as Mr. Bork just pointed out to me, the lead homicide detective in Newburgh on a lot of cases has about 4 years total experience, total, on the job. That is an institutional problem that I try to correct on our side of the house, but it takes a lot of resources on my side of the house to try to help them correct that. And again, I can't, Mr. Fez, that's their side of the house. And I'm not saying it's a tough side to be on because I don't know how you fix what they have. You can't pay people $50,000 and expect them to be cops when a state trooper, is going to make twice that. It just doesn't work. Or Middletown makes more, or Port Jervis makes more. There's limited amount of talent that you can get, and the idea is you got to go get the best talent and retain the talent. And if you don't pay them, or if they feel that the working environment is difficult, then they're not going to stay. They're going to leave.
I want to say thank you, but thank you for the information, but it's very disheartening to hear.
They're trying.
Yeah.
It's just getting from A to B is a very difficult, is very difficult. And you have to, you're either going to say that if your average homicide, if your homicide investigator has 4 years experience, somebody's got to be there to help pick up the pieces. Because at 4 years experience, you're just not that experienced to know what you need to do. And again, that's where we come in and we try to help. The state police try to help and everybody tries to help. And we do the best we can.
Well, thank you for the input. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Real quick question. I like your word crippling in there. I think that kind of sums it up. I know you served as president of the DA's Association a couple of years back or
Yeah.
something similar. I don't know the title.
Yep.
Right, was that the correct one?
That was.
Do you sense, in your opinion, a change coming from the age and barring an upcoming election, throughout the state, it's been a crippling failure. Do you see any movement on the state level to change things?
I don't see a lot. I do see the Attorney General just come out today and said that,
Hey, Mr. District Attorney, I got a young girl that wants to work on the next budget.
Uh-oh.
Where
There you go.
the issue with that, well, the Attorney General just came out today, if you look it up, Letitia James, the Attorney General, said, reversed her previous 2 years and says, we have to take a look at this. Because the real issue is everybody wants to look at numbers and they want to look at like how many arrests and what's happening and was the guy in. The real thing you should look at is, are you solving the crimes that happen? And that's where we're losing the game. That's where the morale of the police, that's where the experience level of the people, all of those things are taking a hit because, the past couple of years, everybody that had 20 years that would normally stay to 25 or 30, they've all left because the environment is so difficult to work in. And it makes it hard, But, the good thing is we've managed to hold it down as best we can. I wouldn't say that things are out of control anywhere in Orange County, but could we do better? I mean, yeah, and a lot of that starts with getting the PDs the resources they need.
Thank you. Kathy?
Thank you for all these updates. My question is more with the change that we've faced over the last couple of years through crimes and raise the age and no bail and all that. Can you tell me roughly what that has cost the department? Just an estimate, and if we're getting any type of relief or funding or anything from the state to cover those changes.
Yeah, we got, Mr. Davidian is getting some money. I got $1.2 million last year and $1.7 million. Does it cover what we're experiencing? No. You're never gonna fix the ramifications of the people leaving and the morale. It's just too hard to swing it back. But putting a price on it, I mean, in a perfect world, if you had unlimited money, you could probably make all these things work, but they're not giving the amount of money that they need. I mean, there's not nearly enough money in Raise the Age for a lot of these kids. And Raise the Age is somewhat of a joke. If a 16-year-old robs you at gunpoint, you're not even entitled to be in the room when he's sentenced. It's not fair to people. And but you're asking for a quantitative number. I can just tell you it's millions upon millions and leave it at that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, thank you very much. Oh, all in favor of the budget as presented?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried unanimously. Thank you. We don't have a capital on.
No,
Just check.
we just have people. People and paper.
Anyone from the sheriff's office here? All right, so we'll skip that component for now and get back to it. And we'll move on to Commissioner Casey. We're going to number 4. And this is going to be a budget review, so we're going to do this piece by piece. We'll start out with the public safety piece first. So a motion to discuss pages 95 through 104, please.
Second.
This is page 95 it starts on.
No.
Okay, you want to highlight that portion of the budget for us, if you think there's anything that jumps off the page for us?
So the budget's up 15%, actually it was 16, but we offset it with some revenue. Contractual expenditures are up, employee benefits are up. You'll see most of the vast majority of the increases in my budget are related to inflation and cost increases. Things are more expensive now. I don't know if any of you have filled your oil tank lately. I just paid $6 a gallon. So we have giant diesel generators over there. We have, the building's a big building, so everything's up.
You making money on solar or no?
We save a little bit of money on solar. I think the last time we did the numbers, we think it's about 50 grand a year, maybe because it's a convoluted, we push the energy back into the grid and then we get credits from O&R and then we pay Tesla for what they do. We got to mow, it costs money. We talked about having goats back there to deal with it. So yeah, it's, but it helps. It's a nice project. It's, it's a good place for it. It's not really usable land, so it's kind of a nice place for the solar.
Okay. Questions on this portion of the budget? Again, pages 95 through 104. Going once. Okay, motion to accept that portion of the, never mind. All in favor of that portion of the budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. Next is the 911 reserve, pages 105 through 114. Do a motion, please.
So moved.
Second. You want to highlight that, please? Piece for us. 105 to 114.
Again, 8.9% increase. A lot of it's related to increased overtime costs. As most of you who've been on this committee know, we're never really fully staffed there. we get people in, it takes a while to train them. We lose some people during training, and then people who maybe have been there for a couple of years, find other employment and move on. And the legislature and the county exec's office a couple of years ago addressed the salary issues, which was good, it was helpful. But the dispatching position for a lot of people is always going to be a stepping stone. So you'll always have that. They start there and they want to be cops and firemen type thing. So you're always going to have that component also. And that contributes to turnover and vacancies. Overtime is always an issue for 911. And again, just overall cost increases for debt services and personnel costs, things along those lines.
Any questions on that piece of the budget? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. Now, we'll have a motion to stop DWI portion of the budget on pages 115 to 121.
Second.
Anything you want to highlight on that? The
Yeah.
Stop DWI piece.
Yeah, it's come back pretty significantly, but during COVID, actually, I have to really tip my hat to Craig Cherry, who ran Stop DWI for many years. It's now another hat that I wear, but Craig built up that reserve significantly. We were one of the only counties coming into the pandemic where we had enough in reserve to meet our obligations. We give money to the district attorney's office, probation, we fund positions. And because Craig was such a good steward of it, we were able to meet those obligations, even though arrests were significantly down during that period. But we're back to normal now, and we're one of the healthiest Stop DWI programs in the state.
Now, with respect to Craig's position, is that hired yet, or is he still?
No, we're going, where's my man over there? He is. We've been going back and forth with one candidate to get an interview scheduled. Everybody's pretty busy. The candidate is also working, so believe me, nobody wants that position filled faster than I do. As the district attorney said, they threw the police records management program at us, so over $1 million from the state. We purchased a niche program, but we have police and IT people, the niche people in the EOC every Tuesday, building out this system. It's a pretty extensive project, which now is under me directly also. We have the contracts, we have UTC, our IT people, and we have a meeting tomorrow, which they're gonna find out that Craig was a really nice guy to work with, and Brendan's not. So that's gonna happen tomorrow. So we'll see what comes out of that meeting, but we weren't meeting some benchmarks, and the benchmarks were miraculously met yesterday after the initial talking to. So hopefully we'll be on track with that.
Okay. Any questions on the Stop DWI piece? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. Now we'll move on to fire prevention. You see Deputy Commissioner Tankasali is with us, pages 122 to 132. Can I have a motion, please?
So make that second.
Anything you want to highlight for us on that?
So it's up, I think it's 17%. A lot of it's related to hazmat truck debt services. There's some increased costs there, but again, it's really related to costs. I don't know if his secretary moved on to another position, so we have to fill that. Hopefully that'll happen soon. And the fire training center is its own separate building. We do a lot over there. A lot of that has to be maintained. The clerk's office, they do commercial vehicle testing over there, so it gets quite a bit of use. Make it available. We knew people that need CDLs need somewhere to be tested on it. There was nowhere to do it in the county. They came to us and we said, look, it's important to have CDL drivers, especially the school bus drivers. We've made that available. They've asked for additional time there, which is difficult to do, but we try to be flexible with our facilities. It's the same with the auditorium and everything else. We're here to help, and that's kind of the mantra that we go by.
Any questions on piece of the budget? Kathy?
We don't get any type of grants or funding on this?
Yeah, we get some stuff.
Yeah, when we,
Tech rescue.
yeah, primarily our grants are used to fund our special teams. We're really good at getting the tech rescue grant. We just got another one this year. That's because our team is pretty well known in the state. In fact, our team is comprised of people that teach the rest of the state technical rescue. So we usually get that every other year, and that's the primary funding source for that team. Hazmat, we got a regional grant. That's between us, Rockland, Ulster, and Sullivan. We administrate that. And, we use that to fund a lot of the equipment, as well as another small hazmat HMEP grant for training. So those are the available grants out there, and we do put in, and we've been very successful with
I
them.
just didn't see it
Yeah.
in the history, so I knew that there were things that were there, so I didn't know if it was going through a different department and it comes down to you.
Yeah, it goes directly to us, those
Okay.
grants.
But even the tech rescue truck, we purchased that out of,
SHSP, another grant. So we do, because fortunately, all the grants allow us to buy specialized equipment. But an example, we went with our recent capital project is water rescue, which we're trying to expand our special ops team to handle. There's no grants that allow funding for that right now. So that's a challenge. Yeah,
Highwoods Law, whatever it really is.
yeah, it's strange, but like that's probably one of the biggest critical specialized rescue type incidents we deal with, and they don't allow us to use grant money for that. So that's why we're looking to use some of our county money to fund that side of our capital project.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions on the fire prevention piece of the budget? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? So carried, unanimous. Next, we'll go on to emergency management, pages 133 to 144. Any motion, please?
Okay.
Anything you want to highlight on that piece?
That's, a lot of those positions are partially grant funded in there. There is one purchase we want to make for satellite communication capabilities. Had some cell phone outages and things. So one of the things that we try to bring to the fight is that infrastructure and communications. When we go out to these scenes and support the actual first responders, we want to have the best communications and best infrastructure that we can bring out to the scene. So that's what we focus on, and that's one purchase Alan wants to make, and the rest of it is they business over there. We defunded an admin position over there, so there's some savings there.
You lost your Indian Point money, right?
Well, we think we're going to get it this year, right? Is that
Yeah,
what we're?
we believe we're gonna get one more allocation.
Yeah.
We won't know until the end of the year.
Is that in here or not?
Yeah, so we'll see. It's
Budgeted
in
here
It's
now?
in there, right?
Yeah, 300,000.
Yeah.
Any questions on this piece of the budget? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried, unanimous. Next, we'll move on to EMS, pages 145 to 153. The motion, please.
Okay.
You want to highlight that for us, the EMS piece?
So the one big increase here is, I think it's time for the EMS deputy commissioner to become a full-time position. There's been a lot of increased requests for training. We're doing a lot of training with EMS providers in the rescue task force. We've purchased ballistic vests for them. They're part of this active shooter exercise coming up at BOCES. We're also in talks with OCK to possibly start a medic program up there. So there's just increased work in that area, and we'll address it in January, February, whether it's, we want to fund it and then see how we're going to address it beginning of the new year.
So last year, we put 10,000 into the budget for recruitment and retention. Did you use that?
Yeah, he's in talks with the Windsor.
That's
when it's
that
in that
program,
direction.
right?
Yeah. So
That's gonna go
I don't
forward?
think they're available until beginning of next year, those people that they want to use. So it sounds like a good program. I think we're going to do that. There was a recent recruitment thing, right? They just did somewhere.
Orange County.
Orange County.
College.
next week. So we're out doing that. We have people going to do that. It's first responders, military recruitment, so it all helps.
Is that in the budget this year, that 10,000 again, or no?
We dropped it to 5. Just because we thought our costs, it would be more in line with our costs.
Well, the cost of the program he's talking about is 13,000. So I don't know how that's in line with the
Yeah,
cost.
we're gonna try to do it this year, but we weren't able to. I don't think they're available, so.
But now we know the cost, is my point.
Yeah, we can, if you want to put some additional money in
Yeah,
there.
I do.
Okay.
I'd like to make it 15 if I can get a second on that.
I'll second that.
Because recruitment and retention of EMS is a huge problem in, not only in Orange County,
Yeah,
I think it's countrywide. And the program that was brought to me through Michael Big, the chief of New Windsor Ambulance, does just that. It teaches not only the recruitment, but the retention part, which I think is very important. And I guess you've approved that to go forward? You just
Yeah,
haven't
as
lined up
long as
the
we can
people?
get it scheduled and done properly,
So
so.
do you know what line that 5,000's in?
Specialty payments.
Specialty.
Can you give me the line and the page if you have it?
5 cents.
So I can make some motion properly.
151.
Page 151, line 57,
6,820.
Second one from the bottom.
Specialty payments?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. So my motion then is to make that number that's currently 5,000 into 15,000, so it's an increase of $10,000. And that's line 576820, specialty payments. And the funding should come from,
That was my question. All right, so for 10,000, I can probably, it's gonna go into taxation in this budget.
okay,
I can probably
We'll fix it
increase
every
it
year.
in sales. I don't have a lot of wiggle room in sales tax. But for 10,000, I can do it.
is there a second to my motion?
Kathy
Yeah.
did. I have a
Kathy
question.
Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I was just wondering, would our special committee that we formed, is this duplication of that? Tom and
We don't pay the EMS people. This is recruitment of volunteers in the county.
just
Your
purely
committee
for
is
volunteers?
staff that's paid by
Okay.
Orange County.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
ours is
thank you.
purely.
We're recruiting,
Yeah.
hopefully we're recruiting volunteers to the various ambulance agencies.
That's specifically for that.
Within the county. That's what the program was for 10,000 last year. But now that we know we have an exact number of 13.
I think
then
it'll help
It'll still be extra for whatever the programs.
And a lot of the towns are starting to realize they have to start tax districts. That's just the way it is. And they got away, you got away with free EMS coverage for decades. It's just not there anymore.
Now, I don't know if you can't answer this question, don't answer it, but is the full-time person going to be the person who's part-time now? Or is that something that has?
I
to be
wouldn't
tested?
want to talk
Don't
about
answer it if you
personnel
can't.
decisions
But
here.
does that have to be a tested position if it's
It
full-time?
currently is, it is a testable position.
All right, and the person who's in the position now is not tested, or is?
I believe he is.
Okay, so it could be smooth.
Yeah, well, so talk about, that's executive session.
Right.
I don't want to talk about
No,
personnel.
I'm not asking you.
Right, Harry's over here.
I'm asking about the process, not the person.
Yeah.
And can that person, since it will become a full-time position, be involved in this recruiting and retention? Is that going to be
Yeah,
one of that
absolutely.
individual?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's part of the demands that are coming, with that EMS. I just think it's time to go full time. There's just so many different things happening with it that we need somebody to focus on it and, new set of eyes. type of thing.
Now, here's the huge question. Is it going to be a grade 25 or a grade 24?
My position is they all are deputy commissioners in emergency services and they all should have the same rank. It just doesn't make any sense that everybody has different grade positions in there. So that's my position on it. I don't know. He's probably a 25 now or a 4 or something.
I think it's a
I think Vinny,
24
did
now.
Vinny just go up?
Yes.
Yeah, so then that would be the only one that's not. So I just think to me, they all have the same job title, Deputy Commissioner of Emergency Services. They all have different roles, but it just doesn't make any sense to have them different. And I come from a rank structure and they have different ranks, which they're all Deputy Commissioners. They should all have the same level in my mind.
Glenn, you're our EMS expert. What do you got? Anybody have any
We
questions?
gotta focus on the tax districts. That's what it's coming to.
Yeah,
I think it's happening already, so.
Anybody have any questions on the EMS portion? Did we vote on my change? We didn't.
Yeah, second.
Yeah, we didn't vote on the change, right?
No.
All right, all in favor of raising that line from 5,000 to 15,000, say aye. Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. Thank you. Any other questions on the EMS portion of the budget? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. Next, we'll move on to Public Safety Police Services on page 154 through 162. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll second.
Anything you want to highlight there?
The only thing is that, and I don't know, the deputy commissioner for school safety is funded in this line, so I don't know. That's a big increase, a completely new position, so.
Wait, say that again?
The deputy commissioner for school safety is in here, funded in this line.
It's technically listed as a proposed position.
Yeah.
So you can get your 10,000 from there.
Yeah. So that's the thing that would jump off the page.
So there's a question. Do we want to leave that in the budget or take it out? Anybody have any suggestions on that or ideas?
I mean, we haven't defined what that looks like at all, so I don't know if it makes sense to, I mean, it can go either way. We could, if we are going to keep the commitment to try to establish what that role looks like, it would make sense to leave it in there so that then we're not having to go back and figure out where the money's coming from, but I guess that goes back to, are we going to continue to do the work, or are we going to try out the crime analyst position and focus on that?
I'd like to see it.
All right, could leave it for now and it'll be a work in progress throughout the year to see if anybody has any ideas on how to fix it. Did we get the crime analyst yet, or what's the?
We sent out
status?
canvas letters. The deadline was 2 days ago. We have 3 people that are interested off the list. They'll be brought in November 2nd for interviews. And I've met with the director of the CAC downstairs, and I think we have a good plan going forward as to what we want to do with this position and, you know, a school safety report, all the school resource officers on a email text group from Monroe to Pine Bush to Middletown. So I think we have a good plan going forward, and we'll get somebody in that position as soon as we can.
And will that be a direct report to you, or are you going to have them directly report to whoever? the
Well,
director of
technically,
services?
they fall under the Deputy Commissioner of Police Services, but they're assigned full-time at the CAC. Now, we can direct them to do certain work we want them to do. They work for the county, they work under emergency services. But Dave sometime would take his crime, I come over here and work more. They're 5 days a week in the CAC. So, which is in my building cells, you know, we see them anyway.
Anybody have questions on the police services portion? All right. All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. And you have some capital,
Oh, I
right?
do have capital. yeah.
Capital,
I have 2, I think. right?
page 4 in the capital plan.
3.
So it's line 65, 66, and 67, I guess. So the first one is the garage.
Tech Rescue Garage. We're waiting back for final numbers on that, right?
Yeah, we're expecting hopefully to have the plans for bidding another
Oh.
month. And we'll bid it and then bring.
Is that Tech Rescue or?
This is $75,000, Emergency Services
That's-
Center Garage.
Okay, that's for a study to be done in the back of my building for expansion of the garage, or take a look at what we want to do once the morgue and all those facilities are moved out of there, how to better store the equipment we have, the trailers. It's best if stuff is kept inside. The mobile command vehicle sits outside. It's not good for it. It's pretty tech heavy. So we want to study back there to see what are our options for the back of my building.
Well, you might want to add that we need a place to park the new county clerk's vehicle too, so I don't know where that's going, other than in the parking lot. here.
Well, we do all our CDL tests. You want to take that over too,
That's
so.
my point. So if you're specking out an extra garage, you might want a garage for that vehicle unless the county exec has another place in mind to put it. Then the next piece is fire services response apparatus, 230,000.
That is for the replacement fire investigation vehicle, as well as I mentioned, the water rescue. Swiftwater Rescue, we're looking to purchase a couple of USAR boats, which are for, Swiftwater type rescue incidents.
Yeah, they're on a trailer, they're stacked, it's basically a Zodiac and then a flat bottom boat. They're trailable, they're not large Hudson River crafts, these are for water rescues in most of the waterways in Orange County that are underserved because fire departments are, a lot of them are getting out of the water business. Not in the western part of Orange County, they're out there every day pretty much. But there is a need for it and it's pretty minimal cost on a trailer and two boats. And then the fire investigation vehicle currently is like a minibus that was given to us from a senior center or something. It's bizarre looking, it's kind of ill-suited, it's about 20 years old. And this will just be a utility van type of thing that will carry around all their investigative equipment and they can transport evidence back and forth, so.
Yeah, we try to design most of our new ones as multi-purpose.
It's not gonna be gray like the hazmat rig, is it?
It will be, that's the county color scheme, the Greyhound bus, the orange and Rockville.
But we're trying to make it
Hideous.
multi-purpose so that we can use it for like fire investigation. When it's not used for that purpose, we have other uses that it can be used for, so.
All right, and then the last piece is the fire training center tech rescue garage.
That's one, we're expecting plans and the plans to bid that out and we get the costs and bring it back to legislators for approval and for us.
And where are you gonna build that?
That will go behind our hazmat garage right now. That's all been planned out and everything. That's the architects and engineers are working on that.
Okay. Any questions on the three pieces of the capital plan? Seeing, Carrie Ann, we need a motion to discuss the capital plan, and that would be Mr. Sassy. Ms. Stiganga, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous, thank you. Thank you. And next we have the sheriff's office, perfect timing. So letter A, request to accept supplemental appropriation from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services for the GIVE grant for overtime operations, $71,000. Motion so moved.
Which grant?
This is the GIVE grant, 71,000.
Some cities, sometimes town can qualify for give money, to gun violence initiative. And so we're part of that program and we expend overtime in the Newburgh area related to this grant.
It's been the topic of discussion from the DA's office too. Anybody have any questions on this? This is every year, right?
It is a continuing grant.
Any questions on this? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. Letter B, request to accept supplemental appropriation from whatever those letters are for development of a multidisciplinary countywide threat assessment team, $172,413. Have a motion, please?
Second.
Just that.
So it's a multidiscipline team to now analyze threats within the county. We have a meeting, we're going to incorporate the FBI, mental health, the Police Chiefs Association, state police, as well as sheriff's office.
And then
And
that
it's
money,
mandated by,
the money comes into the sheriff's office and then stays there or gets distributed to the local police? How does that work?
it's used to fund different training exercises and things like that through this threat assessment.
Not equipment, just training. Got it. And the training is done by what, the SAW group or is it?
Members of the sheriff's office, mental health. So it's multidisciplinary.
Go ahead, Rob.
Is that, I know I heard something about the governor the other day talk about domestic terrorism. Is that tied
Yes.
into that? Is that?
Yeah,
part
it was
of that?
mandated by the governor's office that we have to
Mandated,
have this team.
We have to have it in place, yeah. Thank you.
And it's going to be every police chief or you're going to select? a
No,
few?
somebody from the Police Chiefs Association is going to represent them
Okay.
on the team.
And then the sheriff's office will be there, mental health. what other
State
players?
police, FBI, and school districts. So somebody from BOCES or whoever they pick from the superintendents.
Good. So I wonder if that could help us with our dilemma. We left the money for the school safety deputy commissioner in the budget, not that we're doing that, but I wonder if there's any suggestions come out of that, if you could give us that feedback, if they think there's something that we could do to help with that. Anybody else have any questions on it? Okay, hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. Now we'll move to letter C, request to accept supplemental appropriation from SLE TPP for prevention, response, mitigation, recovery of CBRNE and other hostile events, $277,364. Motion, please.
Second.
That's an annual grant. This
Can you
one
tell
is
us what those letters mean?
chemical, biological, radiological,
Nuclear.
nuclear, yeah.
And then what's the top one? SLE TPP?
Oh, that's state law enforcement terrorist protection program.
Okay, it helps. And what are you gonna do with that money?
As the dictate of the grant says, that's one of the topics in the grant, and that's an annual grant. And I think what got forwarded to all the legislators as well is that we did an annual review of all the current SLE TPP. Yeah, all the agencies that currently have equipment that they received through the SLE TPP grants prior years. And so, we have to account for it every year because there's ways to dispose of these items that are obsolete or, past their useful life or broken, things of that nature. So you always have to account in the grant for everything coming in and everything coming out.
And what type of items are we talking about? I see that they're all in compliance, but it doesn't say anything about what's given to them.
Well, there's a whole variety. It would be many pages longer if we had to describe each item. But enhancements, there are radios, there's cameras, there's physical equipment, there's ATVs with trailers, if they were near a railroad track, for example. And so the list goes on and on. But basically, we wanted to forward that to show the inclusivity of the police agencies that received equipment already through these grants. Because from time to time you hear that they're not included, but they are.
Any questions on this? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. Now we'll move on to the corrections report. Letter D. Need a motion to discuss that, please?
Second.
Highlight that for us, please.
Sure. The corrections report, which was submitted, just to highlight, our facility head count this morning was 308, 76 of which were ICE. Our total revenue to date is $4,860,840. If there's anything else you want me to highlight in there?
With that ICE is an uptick from last month, wasn't it?
Yes,
So we got a few more in?
yes.
Anybody have any questions? Yeah. How with COVID over there?
We currently have one staff member, that's all.
And I know you had a meeting recently, right, for recruitment of correction officers?
Yes.
Was that positive or?
It was positive. HR has been doing a great job with getting the message out there. So we're just waiting to see how many people signed up. The deadline was the 18th. So we're waiting to see who made the postmark date to see the total people that have signed up for the exam.
Any questions on the corrections report? All right. We'll move on to the sheriff's report. Motion to discuss the sheriff report, please.
Well, our highlights are in the front. Besides of them, I don't know. Probably saw the joint operation, we had news coverage for the joint operation for service. For long-term investigation that led to a whole series of arrests, confiscation of various items, including significant amounts of controlled substances.
And I think you were involved in Newburgh too, right? The school issue. I think I saw, Tony, you were on camera at one point walking by, I think.
Yes, we responded to the that issue.
And that was the whole SOG unit or what?
Yes, we were actually preparing for another detail that night, and we were deployed to that.
Anybody have any questions on the sheriff's report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on.
Add one thing is that, the fingerprinting that was suspended in September is underway here in October related to gun permits. And so we should catch up the month of September and October. We've opened our 18-hour class. We've had two sessions over the 18-hour class, but we'll only be able to accommodate about 15% of the applicants, given the space requirements that the course has and our ability to get people in the building. So the vast majority of applicants will have to find training in local gun clubs or things of that nature, commercial enterprises that are offering the training.
You're operating under the new rules or the old rules?
New rules.
Because
New
of
rules.
litigation, we're trying to reverse that or something?
No, it was a stay, it was a temporary stay, but it really didn't affect the training. It affected where you could carry your gun and some other aspects. The background into the social media was suspended, but the Second Circuit reinstated it until the case is adjudicated. So really didn't affect the training. The training in all likelihood is going to be sustained. And so it's going to exist. So
How many people do the training? Just one?
Yes.
Instructor?
One instructor. We have backup that we're
Would
recruiting.
it behoove us to bring somebody else on, you think, to?
If you want to do more classes, I mean, it's, and this is the age-old argument. If we do more, then there's certain people in the community that will yell that government should be doing this, even though the law is specifically written for the state police and DCS to do most of it. There are certain, vocal members of the community which will shout that government shouldn't be in this business. It's handgun safety for new applicants. We do their background. To me, it's an easy mesh to bring it, but we don't have the facilities to have to compete like with a commercial place that's going to rent some building. And you have to have either live fire or simulation fire, as that's part of the testing, right? So the applicant has to go to all these classes. They have to take an exam at the end. They have to score 80 or above. And they have firearms tests where they have to score so much on a target. And so we can accommodate all of that, but not by large numbers.
So how many in the class?
12. We have 12 in a class. The tuition is $350 for the entire course, which we think will be 2/3 of what will eventually be out there in the public. The courses that I've seen just anecdotally, $450 or more.
Is that a break-even price for you, or is there a few bucks to us on that?
No, I think it basically covers our costs. We don't have overhead like some of the other places in that the taxpayers already paid for the building and the electric and things of that nature, where if you're a private enterprise, you would have to make those accommodations your business costs. So we can do it a little cheaper.
That was still part of the sheriff's report. So
Yep.
Now we'll move on to the budget review for the jail, and that's on pages 81 through 93. Have a motion, please.
So
Anything you want to highlight with respect to that before we get into questions?
Yeah, so when we put this out when we received the recommended budget, we put it out to the staff, and the staff had concerns that we shipped back to you guys, I guess, earlier today.
I sent this over to the email address that said, did you guys get it? Because I got something back saying they were out of the office.
I did not.
Jean read it.
Did you bring copies?
Have a few. We're gonna need more.
Oh, we have a machine in there. It still works.
You need everybody to keep us.
Yeah. I have about 4 or 5 of them.
Does that copy machine work that's in that closet there? Yes. Is it a copy machine right in the closet?
It's locked.
Oh, it's locked. They went to get a key to the copy machine. Well, why don't you highlight it and then we'll look at it.
Do you want the ones that we have?
Yeah, go ahead.
Take one. This is the sheriff's side.
We need the jail side right now.
Jail side.
Oh, jail. Oh, no, that is jail. I'm sorry, sheriff's. Yep,
Everyone. You got next one?
this is sheriff. No.
You know what
We're
this
gonna
this
need one
page
right
is
here.
the same.
Here,
right?
here, here.
That's sheriff, you need,
No.
Yeah, that's
corrections.
correction.
Yeah, yeah.
This is sheriff.
That's the right one.
No, you gave her two of the same.
Oh, same.
I have another one. Take this one. You can have that one back. And then this is for your sheriff, so I will make it.
You give her both a copy.
Yep, she's got it.
Is there anything you want to highlight before we get copies and get into this? With the budget itself, or is that what this form is?
Well, the concerns we have are the ones that are listed. That there's aspects of this budget that are not really tenable and are likely to run out of funding before the end of next year. Is our projection.
Now, for the deputy county executive, that budget was cut on anticipation of no ice, is that correct? That was the chatter I heard.
Defer to the.
So we put in 4.3. We reduced it by 5, so it's
Based on what?
4.6, based on the reduction.
Talk about the revenue side? Right, okay. And I guess going back to see where we were revenue wise off the top of my head, unless you know off the top of your head.
We're about 4.8.
4.8 to date.
Projected at 5.6.
Right. But at the current rate of 70, we'll never hit that.
At the current rate, that's where we would hit. I tracked it out based on our current population.
No, but at the beginning of the year, we had more.
Yes.
Now we have
So I
76.
totaled our total up to date and then tracked it out from our current number forward to get me the projected number.
And then the staffing hasn't changed, right? You still have a certain number of people on sick leave and vacancies. What was it, like 50 people or something?
Right now, with the new class that just started, I have 41 people out.
41 out?
41.
And that counts to, now,
Pending retirees, that'll add to that number.
now the sick leave piece, do we have an idea when they're coming back or is that?
Those are long-term six.
Yeah,
They're
those
long-term.
are long-term.
Not likely to return.
Okay.
So what, the moves we made in order to free up a wing was, like we explained to you last time, it temporary in nature. You're gonna have the same problem in your hands, on your hands early next spring, long before the test is back, long before you can replace the manpower. And there's no other moves to make. Because even if you got rid of all the rest of the ICE prisoners, for example, it would not free up manpower like the small move that we did make, which cleared a whole wing that enabled us to close that wing for rehabilitation and saved a considerable amount of manpower. There's no more of those moves left.
So is 76 the max number you can anticipate, can hold without opening another wing or is that too?
No, we still have room to hold.
We have expansion.
No, I'm talking about with the staff. There must be a magic number staffing
So
that you
with,
can
with
go
our
to.
current situation, we have more room in our Charlie 2 unit that we can accommodate more. It's just based on the type of classification ICE will bring in.
Okay, so you can only bring in certain type of ICE prisoners.
Correct.
And what's
ICE
the
classifies
capacity
them
of
just
that?
like we classify them, so they can't be mixed.
What's the capacity of Charlie 2?
56.
So you have 76 that are in different areas?
Yes.
You pay overtime every day right now. I know that, right? Due to lack of manpower. Expanding back into a new wing, even if you open up one part of the wing, you're still opening the wing. And you will cause significant disruption in both overtime costs and the ability of the manpower to fill those spots.
Is there any means of recruiting from other areas? In other words, qualified individuals that are already working in other venues?
Like we explained before, we went down this road, hoping, since the state was cutting back, that we could laterally transfer state correction officers into Orange County Corrections, but that is not doable.
They could take
As
the
per
test.
HR.
They could take the test, right?
They can take the test, but again.
But they'd have to start at entry level.
No, and that could be something in collective bargaining you could address and since you have an open contract, you could, but it doesn't give you a solution now. You're not gonna have a solution until next July. That's my point. And your problem is gonna be back on you end of February, beginning of March, thereabouts.
So as a legislature, there's nothing we can do, but the county exec in negotiating of the union contract, you're saying?
I don't think anyone can do anything right at the moment. You can entice New York State Corrections, but when is the date for the ending of the?
It's already passed.
So, unless they already registered, which I'm hoping some did, but unless they registered to take the test, then there's nothing to do except for maybe cajole somehow the state.
Is there a max age or you can start at any?
Any age. There's no age limit for corrections.
All right, did everybody get a copy now? Did you get
Yes.
any copies?
Yes. Very good.
Okay, so I guess do you want to highlight this piece by piece? We did number one already, I guess.
Well, just accounting for, reduction in revenue related to transport services because you have less prisoners that you're boarding.
Majority of the transport came from US Marshals, us transporting them, and because we don't have any, we currently have no revenue for that.
Zero marshals?
Yes.
And that was by our choice or theirs?
Of their choice.
Their choice. And let's see, contract coordinator?
So we put in for positions every year. All of our positions that we requested were not approved. But the one that we were surprised that being not approved was contract coordinator. In that it had been discussed with the legislature, county executive's office. We thought it was well received during the review. We have clerks and correction officers and cops interacting with law to bring about and manage contracts. Clerks aren't qualified to do that. We have a clerk that's doing the job now, but we can't even pay them out of title because in order to pay someone out of title, you have to first have the position. And then someone else is working out of title in that position, but we don't have the position. So we thought it was, given the number of contracts that we have, we thought it was a critical position. Stacy Hoskins is seated here, really pushed on all of us to make sure it was in there to enhance her services. She oversees the fiscal operations of the sheriff's office. It one that she lobbied vigorously for with us and with the county executive's office that this was critical. A critical position to go forward on. For whatever reason, it was not received into the point that it would have made it into the budget. And we think you should reconsider that.
We currently have about 50 commodity and service rec contracts we handle. She's not handling just, simply buying a quad. She's handling multi-million-dollar medical contracts, the food vendor contract, which is currently going out. She's handling all the RFPs, she's handling all the grants, and she's a principal account clerk that's working well out of the realm of what the other two principal account clerks there are working out of. She's very good at this job. She's doing an excellent job at it. Law has told me so. No one wants to lose her. However, I don't know how to keep a person in a position expecting her to do more work than she should be. Everything she does is complicated and it's nonstop all day long for her. So if there's anything that someone can do for her, this is someone who really needs it. And we need a contract coordinator because we should not have, we had a captain's position that's currently vacant. He was helping with contracts. All that has now fallen to her as well. So this is, entirely new stuff than we've previously had desk audits done for someone in same thing. They said they didn't see. It's new stuff. This is not the same stuff that Sherry Niger used to do when she did here. And Nydia has well surpassed everyone's expectations and handling contracts that a principal account clerk should not be handling.
Langdon, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, maybe Deb, you do. What's the difference in the grade of a contract coordinator and a principal account clerk?
11, yes.
Eight versus, but I'll tell you, we're prepared to do a desk audit on that individual one. So
The problem with that, though, is we don't ever go down. It's either, this is adding a position, because the contracts are a completely separate thing. If we do it with the desk audit, then that means we're just basically eliminating one of the principal account clerks and making her a contract coordinator.
Right, but that seems like it's the proper title based on what you're telling me.
Well, no, because we are all doing a lot more work because she's doing this. So now her work that she was doing has been dispersed to other people as well. So
I
everyone.
think what she's trying to say is that there's no intent to give up the principal account clerk's position. It's required and necessary. You also, at this point, given the load of work, need to create a contract coordinator,
And
not transform a principal account clerk into a contract
So it
coordinator.
seems like this is this person's full-time job anyway, based on the duties that they're describing.
basically, yeah, so.
So
it would
you're
be-
already short of
We're short.
principal account clerk.
Yeah, and
Right.
everyone's working to make up the difference. You know,
Right.
they are working overtime, they are doing things to make up this difference.
So we're experiencing high rates of overtime in the civilian force, which is basically unprecedented, due to just the volume. That they can't do the work in the time allotted, and the work still has to be done. And so that is the core reason for overtime, when you have work that can't be accomplished in a normal 8-hour period.
So, go ahead, Lang.
So I could just say, I have heard extremely positive things about this person in the last literally 48 hours. Susan Whalen, the chief contracts attorney, called and said, this person, you better do desk audit on her. I emailed my staff and they tell me that they sent a questionnaire over to the sheriff's office on 10/3, so I'm sure the sheriff's office is filling it out. We'll do the desk audit. We're gonna turn around very fast. As soon as we get the questionnaire completed, and that's the, and go from there.
So the desk audit would come back and say, change this person from a principal account clerk to a
contract coordinator. So we'll do that as soon as we get the questionnaire back. As I said, we sent it over on October 3rd, and I've heard nothing but exceptional things about this
So
individual.
what's the dollar figure from an 11 to 8 to 11? You know, roughly?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can figure it out pretty fast. I'll tell you in short order. If you give me about 3 minutes, I'll figure it out.
All right.
Unless you have a
But
truck.
that would, you'd be down a principal account clerk, but at least you'd have the person working within the proper parameters of the job descriptions, assuming that's what Langton's department comes back with.
You still have to create the position here in the legislature. HR can't transform a position from a position to a new position. They can tell you it's the creation, you'd be back here saying,
Yeah.
HR now seated here at the table, saying the creation of such a position is justified.
We can do that after we hear back from.
We'll take that to the retention committee if that comes up because of the critical nature. We're not gonna take every single desk audit request to the retention committee, but when you have a one-off position and we hear it's that critical, and honestly, when the undersheriff and Susan Whalen and Stacy and everybody agrees, and the talented individual, we'll be taking stuff like that to your retention committee, if the chairwoman and the chairman Sassy agree, to put it on the agenda.
So you have pretty good assurance you're at least gonna get the person working within the grade.
Well, that's halfway there.
Yeah.
And you need somebody else.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
you're
it.
creating, now you create a shortage in principal account clerks.
So you need that.
But
Well, not necessarily, because if we create the new position and don't withdraw the other, then you're
But if we
technically
create
okay,
a
but we
new
have to hear
position,
back
there's
from
no
HR.
need to do a desk audit. Am I misunderstanding that?
Correct.
If you create the new one, we don't have to
Well, I
do.
think you'd want to do that first. You'd want to do that.
Yeah.
Get that done quickly. But you still,
But
it
the
seems
problem
like
with
you
that
need
is
somebody else.
Once we do a desk audit and they give that position that title, then we no longer have that position as the principal
clerk.
account clerk.
You
they
need
go
an
down to
account
2.
clerk in addition to moving this person to that.
That's why we propose creating the position of contract coordinator. It's a plus one to staff. Otherwise, overtime will continue as it is today because that's the current conditions. If you just change the title, it is appropriate for work she's doing, but you haven't addressed the workload.
So I presume that deputy county exec has a red pen out on that line, right?
Looking at
You have a position?
I have an open mind.
What's that?
I have an open mind towards this. I will say that this budget was reviewed with the idea that there is a new administration coming in, and we're completely open-minded to immediately sitting with whoever that individual is gets elected and working through these issues.
Can I just ask you a question? Is it possible for me to have a conversation with them as well, because they may not be aware of what is going on?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, we welcome your input.
Okay. And just so you guys know, we did not put any of the other proposed positions back in this, on these sheets for sheriff's side. Strictly, we are sticking to this one because we do feel this is the one most needed with doing everything, because it's not just commodity and service contracts. There is contracts, as you guys, all over for grants, for everything that get done. That would go on top of her, current duties of what she is handling.
Your involvement would be critical.
Okay, I appreciate it.
And look, it's an interesting position, but no matter which candidate is elected, they're unlikely to have their arms around the financial operation of the sheriff's office after their election. I would put to you, it would take them 18 months to 24 months to come online with what the financial operation of the sheriff's office actually is. And she's right. I told her that when she came over, and we were pretty accurate. Stacy is fantastic in her job, and I don't have any problem saying that when she's seated here. But it took her time to just take in all the data and really make sense. So although I appreciate saying, well, you have a new administration, they might have different priorities. Okay. What's that going to do with the financial operation of the office? That is not an operational thing. That is just the oil to the gears that makes the sheriff's office run. This is not a political position or something that can change your operational standards. This is the guts of the operation that needs fixing.
Yeah, and we did that on the county attorney side too. County attorney came to us and said they need supervising attorney for contracts, and he has a whole new division just for that because the contracts are so complex. So I think we understand. It sounds like you have a commitment from the deputy county executive and the HR commissioner to move forward. I don't hear a lot of no's today.
I'm just going to echo what you just said. We have to convene this new committee, new retention and recruitment committee. And as I can't see myself.
Sorry.
And as HR director said, we can convene this particular committee. I think people have demonstrated the severe need for this and the immediacy of it. And I will be happy to work with the HR director in facilitating and putting that meeting together. And quite frankly, we have 4 legislators that sit on that. 3 of them are right here in the room. So.
Yeah. Well, look, the contract process is archaic. And it's no individual's fault. It's the system itself. It just doesn't process as quickly as it must today. It's a process designed for some other period of time, but just not today.
All right. So, okay.
Well, I'm just wondering if everybody so far who's discussed this is in agreement that this is a position that we need, should it be put in this budget as a proposed position?
I'm hoping to hear back from HR next month. It won't be necessarily in the budget, but we would at least have the proper staffing.
As far as timing, and that's a very good question, Kathy, in that, we can take a look at this, and if adjustments need to be made when we do our special ways and means wrap up, that needs to be an adjustment. We can always adjust. This is a budget. Right. So even come, January after the budget, we can always make those adjustments. But I think you're hearing that there's a commitment that this definitely needs to be looked at. So once it's thoroughly vetted,
Well, that's why I just was wondering if it should.
But it is a good question.
And I agree with you that the process itself, once you have a budget, there's procedural steps to create a new position, and it takes months, not days.
And it was in there, it's cut.
When you pass a budget with
Position takes us minutes to.
when you put it in the budget, the position is created. If you wait till January, it has to pass through the normal process of being approved, to be brought to committee.
Legislative session. It's 1 month. The holdup is getting
January is usually not the
Exec side on
month to
board,
do that kind of
very
work,
has an
so
open
really,
mind.
January, this legislature doesn't do that kind of work generally. But February, which means in March, well, that's my point. We need the position yesterday.
The key here, though, is that committee, and I see Langdon's hands raised.
Yeah, it's, I think Chairman Hodge, you can create a position in.
Yeah, 1 month.
When I hear you want a position spec draft, I know how to draft a position spec, if they let me do that.
We can be done before the budget is wrapped up.
Yeah, okay. All right, so you have a commitment there. We can address it again at the final Ways and Means wrap up if we get the information back from HR, which it sounds like is going to be on Langdon's top of Langdon's list. The next one is the food items.
Well, the big change in food items is that you used to have the ability to offer labor to the food contractor. You no longer have that ability. And so a new contract will be let that includes labor costs that previously didn't exist. So that line that we estimated was for an RFP that's going out, it's in the contract process.
So
And
the residents can no longer help in the kitchen?
We don't have the residents.
You don't have them, number one.
They're dwindling by the day.
They can only be sentenced inmates, remember? Yeah, trustees. But as the law continues to morph in the state of New
Dave
York,
Hoover's telling us he's very busy handling things. I don't know, you might get some more.
well, people say a lot of things, but we don't project that you can have a contract that's dependent on prisoner labor. And I'm not sure, given the status of the state of New York, they won't demand that labor get paid whatever the minimum wage is in the state of New York. That's been proposed more than once in the legislature. Then anyone working in a prison certainly would get the state minimum wage and earn the state minimum wage rather than trustee wages, which is substantially less.
So the food cost is up, but the number of people you're feeding is significantly lower.
Correct.
Is that figured into this?
Correct. Yeah, the cost of food, well, you know yourself, that anybody who goes to the store today knows that food items are substantially higher than they were a year ago. There's no end in sight that I've seen from any reliable sources. And you're talking about next year. So the food costs are going to rise, plus you have to add labor costs.
And we had to up the quality.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
We had to up the quality of the food due to too many grievances.
So all we're pointing out is the budget line is currently there is insufficient, and you're likely to run in the red next year by a substantial amount. And so certainly this administration, while going out, doesn't want to overlook something and have some other administration say, oh, they didn't plan this properly. Oh, no, we do plan it properly. We're just bringing it to your attention that you're short.
561920, is that 49,000? Is that the right line or am I reading that?
573,200.
573,200. You might.
Oh, there you go. I'm looking at the contract coordinator. That's why. 88. Got it.
We won't know, we could be fine, we won't know until the contract comes back, and we do expect some very high changes, so.
So, I mean, the staff that I meet with projects this to be short,
So you think it's going to be 570,000 short?
thereabouts.
I don't know.
Okay, the next issue is water.
Yeah.
Same thing. Water bills are rising, utilities are not going down. And our projections show a shortfall on this line as well.
And then the pharmacy and drugs?
Pharmacy and drugs, we have MAT coming online, the medically aided treatment, which is more or less the maintaining of the drug habit of the prisoner through the use of narcotic-based, opiate-based drugs. And so that is now state law.
You talking about methadone?
Correct.
Vivitrol, methadone, and we did just.
Suboxone, Vivitrol.
We are going to be able to offset some of these expenses with a $230,000 grant from Oasis through mental health. We're still working out the details on, but I believe that's been added to the budget as well. But with the new law, we have to give people more.
And is that the whole time they're there or do they eventually wean off?
Yeah, we used to use non-narcotic substances to detox prisoners. You know, that is a thing of the past. And really now, when you go to jail, if you claim to have narcotic habit, it'll be maintained when you're in jail. So you'll come out still addicted.
Was that part of the bail reform?
No, that was part of its own legislation, the MAT law.
Ammunition?
Ammunition, this is the most untenable one in the budget, is that there's no way that the jail, you'll hear it later again on this, on the deputy side, the jail can't train its staff with this amount of ammunition. I don't know where the basis for the cut came from. The projected amounts, I mean, everybody knows that shipments and resupply was delayed a year or more. And so we're just still obtaining, or just recently finished up 2020, right? Just got our 2020 orders in, and there's still some. So Stacy can give you exact figures as to what is still outstanding and what we consume.
Well, it'll actually work better when we get to the sheriff's side. On that, we had a lot of POs get rolled from 2020, 2021 into 2022, and that's when we received it. So it actually shows the modified budget for ammunition on sheriff and jail higher than what the actual legislative adopted budget was because of all those POs being rolled, and we received it now. So the 2021 actuals would have been lower. I believe that's what some of this is based off of then, because we didn't receive it. It's taking 12 to 18 months to receive a lot of the ammunition orders.
So in 2022, we budgeted 52,000. You asked for 65.
Yes.
And the executive cut it down to 25,000.
Yes. We are under state contract. However, every year they are able to increase that. And already the products that have expired under the state contracts, we piggyback off of are higher. And we actually anticipate next year it may double from what it is this year for the cost of ammunition due to supply and demand and just them wanting to get out of the state contract and make some money on it.
So for the jail side, what was the cost in 2021? I guess we have that.
So
5,100.
5,100?
Yeah.
What she's saying,
What
it
you're
was just what
saying,
we received, we
we
rolled
didn't
that
pay the
over.
bills, so.
We didn't get the product until now. So
Right.
now it's paid for 2021. 2021, we didn't receive it, it's 18
So
months.
what was the last bill? Is that what we're saying? You just recently got a bill that you paid?
They just recently got a shipment.
yeah, we recently just got the shipment. So
I'm assuming
for,
it came with a bill though.
for example, we are asking for 65,000. They're cutting it by 40, going to 25. If you and so for a year to date, our 2022 amount for ammunition was 52,000. However, year to date, we've spent 83,886, and that's because of rolling the POs.
That's
Has
because
brought
of
that
2
money
years
from
worth.
2021 to 2022. Am I saying that correctly for them?
So basically, if you don't get it in 1 year.
Yes.
It goes into the next year, but then you'll get it in the next year, so you'll be paying it from the prior year.
Yes.
It's encumbered.
Yes.
So is 83,000 2 years worth of
Yes.
ammunition for the jail?
Yes.
So it would be about 41.5, and you're saying there's gonna be an increase?
No, that's just what moved our budget. It moved our budget up to that. So we have spent, it works with about what I'm saying. Yes, I'm saying we need about $48,000 just for our qualifying, the price increase.
For the jail side?
Yes, for the jail side.
Cost of ammunition has increased substantially as well over the last couple of years.
Ammunition, blanks, everything that we use to train. And everyone has to do it.
Talking with the vendors, currently there is no charge for shipping. But shipping costs are going to start being incurred.
Okay, I'm gonna try to wrap this in the end, but I'm gonna go through each one first. The auto parts is next.
So, we lease a large part of our fleet, but that doesn't mean we don't own, sheriff still owns vehicles. So the good part about the lease is it's mostly wear and tear stuff. So oil changes, tires, windshield wipers, et cetera. And, we do it for a lot less than we used to pay DPW. But auto parts being cut for vehicles that we own, some of them are old, and that they require a higher level of maintenance.
How many do you own?
At least
We have eight vans right now. That we own.
That are old.
And two
and
vehicles.
flatbed truck,
That's
that's a patrol side, okay?
But when they go bad, are they gonna be leased or are you gonna buy them?
Looking, just roll over into the lease. I mean, the mileage on it's very high and they're close to almost
But
50.
they don't always have those particular types of vans available because of how we outfit them, aftermarket outfitting.
We've been canceled 2 years in a row for Sprinter vans through Ford. We placed the order, they canceled. And this will be the third year that they've canceled.
If we could roll it over, it would ultimately be cheaper, like the current lease. But you're not in a position to roll it over, at least for 2023 that we project.
So the contractor can't provide the leased vans?
Correct.
Ford cancels them.
Well, don't you lease them from Enterprise or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, but Enterprise gets them from Ford.
Right.
And Ford cancels the
So
order.
you asked Enterprise, and they said no because Ford won't give it to them.
They put the order through and then the vehicles are on order and then 4 months later, we get told Ford canceled them.
Next piece is uniform.
Well, uniforms, you're anticipating, one would assume hiring a substantial amount of new COs to reduce your overtime costs, which is always more than new personnel. And just don't think it's the right year to cut uniforms that you're gonna run out of lines. And the reason we point all these lines is that the staff indicates that these lines will be red for sure.
Good. Lease agreements?
Lease agreements are lease agreements. I don't know how you can cut lease agreements. They cost what they cost.
What are we talking about with lease agreements?
What are you guys?
It's the Enterprise lease, right?
Yeah, they're cutting 30,000 out of that line and included of our lease agreements is Nikon Club radios that we still currently have. Our Enterprise cars and all the Toshiba copiers and printers we have in the facility. So those are all standard set amounts that we pay usually on a monthly basis.
We're still leasing radios?
For the jail.
Yeah, for the jail.
Oh, I was gonna say, so we just.
Yeah,
Jail
no,
radios.
we're inside the jail.
Okay.
They still have them, and that lease is a total of $81,942 a year.
What's that set at?
The total overall for Enterprise is $47,706 on the correction side, and we have $30,000 for their Toshiba copiers and stuff because they're all over every housing unit, every place in the jail.
Well, how much is that short, are you telling me?
Well, if they cut 30, yeah, well, the total on that is 159, exactly what we asked for, 159,684. If we take 30,000 off of it, we will be short on being able to pay our lease agreements.
Okay, prisoner board out of county?
Again, that is a guess going into a
Yeah.
budget, like a budget's an educated guess. This is similar, an educated guess. There are some years when we don't board out very much at all.
Yeah.
And then there's some years where you board out a lot. And so we try and come in with a figure that's manageable.
That doesn't cover the 16 and 17-year-olds, right? That's not.
No.
No.
So you would only board
Board
out,
out.
what, if there was a gang that you didn't want in the same facility?
There's a whole
Yeah.
myriad of reasons why you might board out a particular prisoner. But you have to have sufficient funding to do it, right? Just like we charge ICE, other jails charge us.
When's the last time you boarded out a prisoner?
We have one boarded out.
Right now?
Yeah. It's been, most of them haven't been for an extended amount of time, but if that does happen, we normally don't use a lot of those funds, but we could. So,
Good. Specialty travel?
Well, there we requested the same amount as we utilized year after year, and it was cut. Not that it's a whole lot of money, but really what special travel is. It's training. And when you cut training to $2,000, I don't think that leaves a jail administrator, assistant jail administrator, even money to go to their normal conferences. So, again, we just don't see the logic behind those types of cuts. Everyone knows today, especially in the state of New York where things can change quickly, that training is paramount. And maintaining that training is money. So you can train your staff. Or train trainers and bring them back to train the rest of the staff. But you have to have a training budget that's significant in order to stay ahead of the curve and not behind the curve.
And the cars, I think we already talked about that. For the other category. All right, so we have issues of 570,000 short in food, based on the opinion of the sheriff's office. Looks like 23,000 short on ammunition for the jail. And just looking at some of the finger items. 30,000 short on the lease agreements for the vehicles. Anybody have any suggestions as to what you want to do, Katie?
It's not a matter of what I'd like to do, but I would like to see. There are printouts that we can get to show us year-to-date expenditures, as well as the encumbrances that they already have and they've identified. And in taking a careful look at this, I mean, I can see where some of these things
I do have that
major concerns. Some of them maybe have some wiggle room.
Yes.
But without having those figures and getting more of an accurate picture, I don't think it's advisable for any action to be taken today unless you have reviewed all of those things.
So you want to fix it at Ways and Means? Is that your suggestion?
Well, if it is to be fixed, but I don't think you have enough information to make an educated, like, all in favor, let's go type of vote. I think you have to look at it a little bit further, and you need that particular information to be able to, I would think, but here again, this is just.
Go ahead.
We have a fix in here. We'll let Debbie address it. But a lot of this information that we developed here is based on history. We took just like one item, like oil parts, and looked at it. If you followed how much we spent in the last couple of years, you see that the prediction that we made is in ballpark. But we do have a fix. If we're all wrong and they're all right, then
Okay, so first of all, we have provided a 4-year average to Mr. Paducah. I think I've shared it with the rest of you also. So you can look at that there. Also, we have increased our contingency line by $3 million. So from that, it went from 2 million to 5 million, just for these things as a new administration will be coming in, so they can get their head around the operations.
so if more monies are needed, monies will be there. We'll come to you for you to release them.
Some of them seem to be a little obvious though, like the ammunition. And
The leases.
the leases and stuff like that, because it's a fixed number, I think,
Even the food.
based on the contract. So we can fix it at Ways and Means. Do you have a sheet there you said that you wanted to see?
I do have what we have spent. I
So
printed
can
it
you-
before we came for ammunition for both sides. I can give it to you guys.
Can you email it to to Kelly, not to Jean, because Jean is out.
Okay. What is the last name?
Bradley?
Brad, okay. And to what they are saying about this, they are not incorrect, and our 4-year average would be low because we've never spent that much money on auto parts or maintenance and repair vehicles because we had all the motor pool leases. So, and overall, I think the last year we had motor pool, it was about $830,000. We no longer have motor pool, and there is certain wear and tear and basic maintenance on the enterprise vehicles that we are responsible for, which is why the increase in auto parts or maintenance and repair is something that we need. Not to mention our vehicles that are owned as they are aging. So they are correct. The 4-year average is low. So the numbers they put in, is going off of that. However, this will be the first year really that we have our full fleet from enterprise, and we'll really get to gauge what we're going to spend after 2022.
When you say you have an extra 3 million, that's earmarked for the sheriff's office?
Not specifically for the earmark, but it could be used for them. It could be used for anything. But we did take that into consideration with the reduced revenue for the ice business.
Katie?
I have another question, and it's actually for Deb. So and I don't know, if I need you to clarify the austerity adjustment contractual.
Right, so there is none this year. So in prior years, what we did is we put in a $1.5 million austerity. Okay, that would cover any reductions and such. In this case, what we did is we took that and we just distributed it out amongst all the accounts. So it's the same amount, but we just reduced the accounts instead of putting it all in one lump sum.
And when you say the accounts, you're talking about the accounts in this
The
particular
accounts that could
section
be,
of the, but in this
the-
particular section of the budget, not elsewhere.
Correct.
So instead of putting 1.5 in, you actually
We just
deducted
reduced the loss.
elsewhere, and those are the reductions that we're looking at.
And they've historically been okay with the 1.5 million.
Right. So I guess it's the suggestion that we're going to leave any immediate fixes to Ways and Means.
Unless people are comfortable
And,
with certain things like the lease, I mean, I think the water is a concern. I mean, we're picking and choosing things out without full knowledge.
So,
That's my-
all right, so that's what our homework will be, to bring it to Ways and Means. I sit on Ways and Means as well. If you could get that documentation over, and some of these I
There
think
were a
need to
lot
be
of
changed.
other cuts.
What's that?
Just so you guys know, there were a lot of other cuts. These are the main ones that concern us. The
Yeah.
other ones we can deal with, we can, get by. I don't feel that they, will hinder our operation in the way that these specific ones will.
Yes, I noticed there were,
Okay.
and that's why these need to have some more special attention.
Yeah, well, if we park that extra 3 million over there, you guys would be great.
It would be fat. Well, whoever will be fat.
All
I
right,
don't have a
so
dog.
we know the issues, we're gonna get more information, and if need be, we'll fix it at Ways and Means. Is that okay with everybody on the committee?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we will move on to unless anybody has any other questions on the jail side? We will move on to the sheriff's side, we're going to discuss that, please, so.
Thank you.
And that's on pages 68 to 80. Now, do you have a handout for that too?
Yes. You don't have a copy of that one?
Is it the same one?
No, it's different.
No, it starts
I didn't
with
get the
K9,
sheriff's side
K9.
All right.
Oh, there was two separate?
Yeah.
I only got one.
Does everybody get the sheriff's side? 'Cause I don't.
Yeah, no.
Corrections division.
You got copies over there, the sheriff's side, Carrie Ann?
Carrie has,
Oh.
I have.
Here,
You need one?
the one page,
Wait,
sheriff's
this
side?
should be enough.
Yeah, we have.
All right,
You got one?
I do, I do.
It's 2 pages.
Double sided from the.
Yeah, okay, so why don't we do the same thing? We'll go one by one, that way. Start at the K9 supply.
So K9 sort of a fixed course, you're gonna have a K9 retire and purchase a new one. Only, we take care of our K9s until they pass away. So you're gaining a K9, not losing. It's not an even swap.
Okay, ammunition, same story.
What's more significant here, and Stacy has her arms around this better than I do. And rather than try and
Okay.
parrot back something she told me earlier, just let her do it.
So the ammunition on this side, the modified budget for the year is 153,752, which is showing all the rolled POs that have come from 2020 or 2021. Well, technically, I guess 2021. So we have a balance remaining of that of only 13,580 for the year, which shows that we've spent $140,000 this year, which is even higher than what the original budget was because of everything getting rolled. So going off,
And I think yes, spent or encumbered.
it's both because we do have orders that are
It's
still
it's
outstanding.
different, it's not spent.
Okay, so the spent one is the actual year-to-date expense is $78,050.90. The encumbered, which we are still waiting on some of them, it might be the order is in, it's that it hasn't been paid by finance yet also, is 62,120. So the 4-year average that, you guys might be showing is obviously a lot less than what it actually is because of the shortage of the ammunition and it taking so long to come in. So when we sat down and figured it out, on a minimum, we need 92,162 just for qualifying training drills, proficiency. And that doesn't include to have anything in stock, or if, God forbid, someone actually has to use the weapon to restock them and things like that. So cutting this, the amount that it's, suggested isn't even enough for us to have everyone qualify for it.
So you're about 35,000 short, is what I'm hearing, right? But see, there's 58,383 in the budget, you need 92,162, you're saying?
Yeah.
That's minimum.
Yeah,
Doesn't include any price increase, nothing that may come along.
got it. Okay. Auto parts?
Well, it's the
Same.
same thing,
Same
except
story.
for there's a different wrinkle in the deputy sheriff's side.
They're mostly
We have
leased, right?
undercover vehicles that we purchase. We don't, for obvious reasons, use new lease vehicles for undercover purchases. We buy a used car every year. And the used cars, relatively new, but, that doesn't fit the profiles that we need. We need cars that fit on the sets that we send our undercovers to. And so you need a variety of different vehicles that we purchase, and they're ours, and we have to maintain them. They're not leased. Leases extra tires, like Stacy said, we're going to the first full year, now the second year that we've had the car. So the first year you have a car, you don't need tires basically, because the vehicle comes with tires, and then you have to replace them the second year, and you have wear and tear stuff. Well, we're responsible for its wear and tear. So if a muffler or something goes bad, Enterprise takes it back. But wear and tear items we're responsible for. So there's no reliable history there. So I don't know. There's no 4-year history to rely on that, because the lease is relatively new. And so, we think our estimate, again, it's just going to go red, that if you have contingency money, we're just pointing out, based on our review, that these lines have an insufficient amount of money in the line in order to get to the end of the year.
Okay, specialty material?
And the same thing here, it's, there's a lot of things going to specialty material that are congregated into one line, and we just look at it as being insufficient to really cover the parameters, in particular VO 203. And yeah, there's a whole variety of different subjects. I'm not going to bother you with it. This line is just insufficient to get to the end of the year.
All right, uniforms, just the costs are up.
Yeah, costs are up. It's affected by, certainly, again, a 4-year average would all respect anybody that forecasts that way. The inflation rate over the last 4 years has been minimal. And the inflation rate in this year and the year going forward is projected to be 8% a year. And so I'm not sure how financially reliable 4-year projections are when the inflation rate was 2 and 3%.
Okay.
Not that it's a budget buster, but it's just not going to be sufficient. Same with the safety protection equipment, which you have to have these things. I think the lease agreements, we've kind of talked that one to death.
Right.
It just needs additional, there's more to the lease than just a lease. You have to have the wear and tear items in order to make it viable. And then training for police is going to continue to spiral up. The requirements of police are going to continue to spiral up, especially here in the state of New York. I don't think even if there was a political change in Albany, which I don't anticipate, that it would change the trajectory because the population wants police to be the utmost professional. And we're extraordinarily highly accredited. And so we have to maintain those levels, and those levels are maintained through training. Now, we do the vast majority of our training in-house. That's part of the contractual basis that we have with the PBA. But it is required that we send out select personnel to be trained to come back and train the workforce. And a lot of the training, see the next one is Tony Weir. If you send his guys out for training, You know, it's not cheap. And, but they come back with a wealth of knowledge and they impart that to the rest of their team, which in fact, you know, trains other teams around the area. So, I mean, look, like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight. Cutting training money is foolhardy in the current political environment in the United States. That's the only thing I would tell you.
I think we got the automobiles piece.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What's your pleasure on this one? You're short 35,000 on ammo at least, or you're short about 40,000 on the training side? Not to mention the other items pointed out.
That's correct. And the other thing on training, 4-year average, you know, was during COVID, no one was going outside for training of any significant amounts. So 2020 really is a reliable year to use for budget forecasting.
Are you interested in making any changes, or you want to leave it the way it is? Not hearing any suggested changes, so we'll vote on the budget the way it is. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? So carried, unanimous. We'll expect more information and we'll address any issues that there's any. Carolyn?
Could I ask that, as you provide us additional information, do we know the totals of these changes, what they both ended up to on both sheets? What do you, so in other
I
words.
only looked at the bigger
The
ones.
adjustments we're proposing. The cost.
I mean, if you count the food, it was 570,000.
Yes, so as we were just talking about numbers off, was there a total of adjustments that you are, you know, highlighting to us for all of these things? Like you just said the food was 500 something.
Yeah, that's what, from what we put in for it to what,
Right, but I'm
It was
saying
cut.
the total of everything listed here,
okay,
what is it?
okay.
And I'm not asking for it now.
Yes, we can do that.
And on both sides.
Yes, we can do that.
Hopefully it's under 3
Thanks.
million.
Substantially under 3 million. But I believe the 3 million is intended for the whole county now, not just us.
Council?
I just wanted to clarify, the vote that was taken, was that just for sheriff or for jail and sheriff?
We did two separate things.
You didn't do one sheriff.
We didn't do we just did the jail.
You did the sheriff right now.
No, we didn't vote on it?
No, we didn't vote on it.
Okay,
Just put
so
it
we have to
aside.
vote on the jail piece, you're saying?
Correct.
All right. So I guess we're gonna vote on the jail budget the way it was outlined in the book. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. So that it still leaves us open to fix it at Ways and Means, just so you know. Don't be discouraged from sending more information is the point.
When is wait?
Make Stacy Sue red, that's how.
What is the date of that final
Next
wrap up?
Wednesday.
It's not the next Ways and
Oh,
Means,
no,
which
it's
would
not the
be
next one.
Wednesday, but that's not the one where we
Tuesday,
make the
November
overall corrections.
Tuesday, November 1st.
November 1st.
But I would ask.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'll
that's
get
way
you.
before that.
Tomorrow. So I have tomorrow.
I will try. I have auditors swing
It's
tomorrow,
okay, we
so,
don't need it. Thank you.
yeah.
Overtime's approved tomorrow.
Motion to adjourn? No?
Capital.
Oh, capital. Forget the capital piece. Page 5.
Lines 121 and 22.
Now,
So we have a building expansion, we got the body cameras, and the K-9 facility renovations. K-9 facility renovations, that's the building that DPW is charging you for that you don't use anymore, isn't it?
No, we use
No, we
it.
use
We're
it.
still there.
But they didn't fix it up or?
No,
Correct.
no, the floor has not been fixed. And it's the airport that always threatens us with why we're there in the first place. You know, so I think that's a DPW's cost of what it would be to fix the building. You know, position of the outgoing administration is that you should move that facility over towards the range where the rest of the training facilities are and centralize your training at this point rather than sink $400,000 into a building that will continue to be problematic because of the nature where it is.
Take a look at that. The body cams, everybody's familiar with that. Building
The cost of money
expansion.
is up.
Yeah. The building expansion.
Building expansion is the sheriff's side of the sheriff's building, which was basically too small when they moved in. And is consistently too small. And so it's second floor, it's really redesigning everything that you have now on the first floor, taking most of what is all the executive offices and moving them upstairs, creating that whole new redesign, because you need locker rooms for men, you have totally inadequate locker rooms for women. And basically the floor space is reaching the end of its life, and you need to change it now. And if you began the process today, you wouldn't be done for 2.5, 3 years. So really, you're talking about what it should look like 3 years from now.
Okay.
Can I?
Sure.
The K-9. I actually personally went there recently because I said I have to fill out these things, I have to fight for these things, and I don't understand. I went there and I have to say, if they want to move it, that's great. However, I don't think that'll take years. I don't think they can wait for their fixes. I personally walked on the floor and my heel went through it.
The airport?
That is at the airport, and I would invite any one of you guys to go and look at it, because I was completely taken back at exactly how bad it is and what it does need to get fixed. And they are actively doing classes. We have outside agencies there. I would almost say,
We train multiple agencies.
yeah,
there.
it should be embarrassing.
Not just ours.
Almost, because it is actually, that bad. They're not just saying it is, it truly is. I mean, the garage has a stone floor, it has a
So
hole
if you're falling through
inside.
the floor, it should be declared unsafe by the DPW and shut down.
It was implied to be so
They-
by
they-
DPW,
yeah,
and
yes.
they coned off a portion of it.
Yep, and they took up
Um,
that plywood and put new down, and it needs to be repaired, so they can
What
continue.
brought it to everybody's attention is we withheld rent. Right, we wouldn't pay the rent, because if it was a real landlord, we ought to arrest the landlord.
Mhm. It, just go look at it.
How do you get in?
We can set that up for you. No, the side road?
Side road.
Yes.
What's the?
Yep.
What's the road? I
Is it
forgot.
McQuaid?
I know it, I go on it, I go by it a
Or
lot.
something,
I know where it is, but I wonder if there was access off that road.
No.
I-
Through the airport?
Not through the airport,
Not
you have to
through
go
the
down.
yeah.
It's off of
McKinney?
211.
Yeah, it's some.
It's off 211 before the
It's
last
not
road
Kaiser
before the
Town,
airport.
is this one? Is
Yeah,
it one
Kaiser.
Kaiser
That's
Town?
it.
Yep. And it was, something that I think should be addressed as soon as possible to fix the floor and get it up to date. And when I was there personally, there were, I believe Rockland was there, I think someone from Delaware County Sheriff's Office was there. So you have all these other agencies coming in and seeing the facility as well, and bringing their dogs there, because the training program it's amazing what they do with the dogs. They just need the building to be fixed, to continue.
We're actually gonna have a dog from New Hampshire coming through our training.
Yeah, so let's make the building look as great as
It's a
our training
revenue
is.
maker for you too, then. So. By not
Doesn't
significant.
produce revenue.
You're not giving it away?
Doesn't produce any revenue that's significant, that maintain the building. Maintenance of the buildings for our canine, and we are an asset. Like most of the things the sheriff's office does, it enhances the operation of town and village PDs. Through equipment, through training, through availability of units they can't afford, like narcotics, special operations group, and a whole host of things. That is-
Canine step there?
No.
They don't stay there.
They don't stay there, just train there. and
It
then-
used to be, when the building was first designed, when you go there, you'll see a lot of kennels, but they're not utilized anymore, haven't been used in years. I mean, the property is decent. If you would fix the building and bring it up to snuff and enhance that building, it'd be great, but we have, in the 20 years I've been in office, there's a 20-year gun battle about the building itself. So who owns it and who's responsible for its cost? And we've appealed to the legislature on more than one occasion that, this issue needs to get settled one way or the other. If it's going to be in our budget, put it in our budget and let us maintain the building, and we can have costs from year to year as to how you're going to maintain the building. But it's in the airport budget, and the airport doesn't fix anything, and then says it's not their problem. It's our problem. We don't have any budget lines for it.
Well, it's our problem now, because now we're put on prior, we had notice that it's defective, so, maybe council can.
Good job,
You
then.
contact Eric DeMaker tomorrow and tell him that the legislature has been informed that the building's unsafe and that he should review it and, do what's necessary.
that also fall under the airport, if it's under the airport?
But
Risk
the airport
management
works
has
for
been
it.
there, they're aware of what's wrong with the
Yeah, but-
building, and they just keep.
Risk management is very
Band-Aids on
concerned.
it.
If you
Yes.
talk to the people from risk
Yeah, so-
management, they are very concerned.
So I should go out and trip and fall.
Tape's going, we're on notice. Nothing to hide.
Yeah.
So I need a motion for the capital plan. Carolyn?
Second.
All in favor of the capital plan?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried unanimous. Motion to adjourn is in order. Mr. Fagione? Seconded by Mr. Ganga. We are adjourned. Thank you.